Ooh la la. All right, everybody. We're gonna start out and get the bottom end of this thing put back together. Everything I need to do this is clean, measured. I've made the changes I need to make in the areas that I need to make them. So I'm ready to get the bottom end put back together, and I want to do that and get it sealed up as soon as I can. First step here, we got to get the crankshaft back in it. Alright, I've got the crankshaft back in. I reused the stock main bearings. They all looked good. I didn't see any issues with them. So I put them right back in. Little assembly lube, torque all the main cap bolts back down. Good to go. Spins over nice and easy the way it should. I'm happy with that. So now I'm going to get the pistons on. I'm reusing the stock pistons. All I did was go through, clean them up, and then check the gap on the piston rings. I set the top and second ring to 28 thousandths because eventually this engine's going to see some boost and I want enough gap there that they don't butt up and seize. And I left the oil ring alone. I just cleaned it off, cleaned all the ring lands out, and I'm reusing the stock rod bearings. But I am putting in ARP rod bolts. All right, team. Rotating assembly is installed. Crankshaft, pistons and rods, all good to go. It rolls over nice and easy. Smooth, no tight spots. Exactly what you want. So I can hear just a little bit of dragging from honing the cylinders out, but that should help those piston rings to seat back on tight and form a good seal. So, next step, I think, is going to be the rear main cover, and then cam, timing gears, oil pump, and front cover. All right, everybody, it's been a few days. Finally have some time. Getting back to work on putting this engine together. Now, I'm waiting for a new windage tray. The LS1 windage tray is not appropriate for the oil pan that I'm using, which is a truck pan. So I'm waiting for a truck windage tray to get here to be able to finish putting the bottom half of the engine together. My new LS7 style lifters are soaking. My lifter trays are ready to go. So while they're waiting and getting ready, I'm gonna get my trunnion upgrades done on my rocker arms. I have some spare rocker arms from another engine I took apart. So I'm just gonna choose the 16 best rocker arms out of the ones that came from the engine and the spares that I had, and use those. If you've never done this trunnion upgrade before, All you really need is something to squeeze with to do this. So you take a socket that fits over the bearing on one side and lines up with the bearing on the other side. You get all that lined up in your vise, or even a big C-clamp would probably work, just something that you can use to squeeze them together. Tighten it down. It pushes through. Take off the outside bearing, grab the fulcrum, slide the other bearing through on the inside, and there you have it, a naked rocker arm. So I'm going to get all my 16 picked out, taken apart, get them cleaned off in my cleaner, and then I'll put them all back together with my new upgraded trunnions, so I won't have to worry about spinning this thing to higher RPM.
Several days later.
All right, everybody. So I got to get these cylinder heads ported. I've done a video before on how to port LS cylinder heads. I'm going to do the same thing to these that I did in that video. So I'll put a link to it up here for you to check that out if you want a little more in-depth, detailed explanation of what I'm doing here. But basic tools, a die grinder. I just call these the Christmas tree shaped burr. I got a short one and a long one. Some WD-40 so the aluminum doesn't clog up my burr. That's pretty much it. I'm going to make these heads flow a little bit better and be a little more power capable. All right, everybody. It's a few days later again. I'm getting ready to put the oil pan on. My truck windage tray came in. Now, I don't know if it really would have made that much of a difference to just run the LS1 windage pan or run this truck windage pan, but it was like $8 and it got shipped here the next day, so not a big deal. So I'm going to get the oil pan put on. Now, this oil pump pickup tube and the baffle plate for my oil pan here, these are not the factory parts. In this front sump style pan, like used in Trailblazers, Envoys, those sort of things, those engines had notorious oil starvation issues because the oil pickup was at the very front of the pan. So when you hit the throttle and accelerate, all the oil sloshes to the back and your pump starves for oil. So this kit came from PCM of NC. This kit relocates the pickup tube here to the back of the pan. Well, to the lowest rearmost part of the sump. So it alleviates those oil starvation issues, make sure that the sump stays submerged even under heavy acceleration. So I put that in because this thing's going to see some heavy acceleration and we don't want oil starvation issues. So I'm going to get this thing put on. Alright everybody, well it's a couple days later. Hopefully you can hear me. We're getting a pretty gnarly thunderstorm right now. I'm done porting my heads. All I have left to do on these before I can put them on the engine is lap the valves and then reassemble with my new valve springs, new valve seals, and I'm reusing the stock retainers and keepers. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to lap the valves in and then slam these things back together and then get them back on the engine. Alright, that head is assembled. All new seals, all new valve seals, all new valve springs. I'm using the Pack 1219 valve springs in this one. They'll provide plenty. They actually have about, I think about 75 thousandths more lift capability than what I'm running in the cam. So should be just fine there. Shouldn't have any interference issues or anything like that. So I'll set this one aside, do the other one, and then we can get them on the engine. Alright team, got the heads on. That was my goal to get done for the evening. And I'm going to pick up on it tomorrow. Alright everybody, so heads are on, torque down, ready to go. I need to get all of my rocker arms put back together with my new upgraded trunnions. I bought a Camshaft Trunnion Upgrade Kit. I imagine they're all probably pretty similar. But the way you do this, at least the Camshaft set, all you need is a vise or something you can squeeze them with. Get your first bearing put in place. Just use your vise. Make sure you got it lined up straight. Just press it in until it's flush. Then you take the actual trunnion itself, get it in there. They supply the little washers that you use to install it. And again, one washer on one end, the end that has the bearing still protruding. Use that to get it started. Then you put one washer on each side. Drop it down into place. And push it right into the center. Make sure you have room to get the snap ring on both sides. Make sure it moves freely. There shouldn't be any binding. Then take your snap ring pliers. Put your snap ring on the outside. That's it. Not much to it, pretty simple. That's your finished product. Let's get this intake manifold on this thing. Alright, so the engine itself, fully assembled. Pretty much ready to go. Now, what I'm working on here and what I'm going to wrap up this video on is getting the stuff on the outside, the accessories and those sort of things mocked into place and make sure all that stuff works. So I've got the starter in place, that's no problem. The passenger side valve cover. The LS1 valve cover is different from a truck valve cover. It has 2 breather ports on it. So I have a spare passenger side truck valve cover. I'll get that cleaned up. I'll get that swapped on the passenger side. Now I'm fitting up the headers, and my driver's side header is contacting the block right here where this piece is. I assume this is from when they machine the blocks at the factory, but it's just a piece of aluminum. It doesn't do anything that I know of, but my headers are contacting that. So I'm going to cut this off. I don't think I need to remove much. I'm going to just take a 1/2 inch off of it because I have the space and it's easy to do here while it's out of the vehicle. To make sure my header is clear, I'd rather get rid of this piece of useless aluminum than bang up my brand new headers. So I'm going to get that off, get my little dust cover installed over here, and then I'll get the passenger side header fitted up and make sure there's no interference on that side. Alright everybody, I got the passenger side header on. It fit up, no clearance issues at all. And everything else that I have to bolt onto this thing is on there. It fits well, clears well, no problems. So that's it on this thing for now. Some of you guessed, and one of you guessed correctly. Colin, good job, brother. This thing is going into the ass blazer. I've got an assortment of 4L60, 4L65 variant transmissions around here. So I'm going to use the best parts that I can come up with and put together one that I think is going to hold up to this engine for a long time. It's going to allow me to retain 4-wheel drive, which I want to do. I want to keep the 4-wheel drive in the thing. And it'll let me show you guys that, you know, the 4L60 isn't made out of glass like a lot of people say they are. If you have a little bit of know-how and you're willing to read a transmission manual and really learn how it works, you can make those things hold up to a good bit of power. Definitely hold up to an amount of power that this engine is going to make by itself. But that's going to be in a separate video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're just as excited as I am to get this thing swapped in there and probably have a heck of a lot of fun with it. I've never seen any other built Trailblazer extendeds, so it'll be fun to take it around, show people, and drop the kids off at school. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and until the next video, take care.